Alright guys, I will be the first to admit I messed up. I messed up when I installed my FiTCAMX a couple weeks back. The reason why is because I cheaped out. I went with the front camera only, and I didn't really give any sort of thought to having a rear camera, but had a few incidents where I had someone on my 6 kind of tailgating the heck out of me, and I really did think, hey, having a rear view camera at that point in time would be pretty handy. So we got this guy pulled out, and we're going to be installing this guy. So I figured before we go ahead and install the front and rear view camera kit, let's go ahead and pull the front one out, take a look at them, and I'll show you the side-by-side. Just the minor differences, nothing crazy between the two. Ultimately, you're still getting the same camera. You're still getting the 4K resolution on the front camera, but you do get 2 additional upgrades on this kit versus if you just buy the front camera. So if you recall, I bought just the front camera. This is the 4K one. I have since upgraded to the 4K plus rear camera. There's also one in between these 2 kits, but I figure I really like the quality of the 4K on the front, so I'm not going to drop that down. I just really want to add the added capability of the rear view camera. So the 2 changes or 2 differences between the 2 camera sets that you'll see. One, right off the bat, you're going to have an additional dongle. So originally when I installed this, I sent an email over to the FiTCAM team and I asked them if it was easy to just add on the rear view camera to this. Unfortunately, you can't because the board itself inside is different. You can see that right here. So it has an output for, or an input for the rear view camera right here, along with the power. So the power, same as the original front camera, but you get this added cable for the rear view camera. Second thing that's different in this kit is it comes with a bigger card, and this only comes in the top kit. So the one in between still comes with a 64 gigabyte card like just the front camera kit does. But if you get the 4K camera as well as, I think this 1080p rear camera, you get a 128 gig card. Let's see. Yep, 128 gig card. So you have more than enough memory for rear and front camera on the loop. So in today's video, I'm going to focus less on how to remove the front. If you go up right here, I'll drop the video for the original FiTCAM. The removal process for the factory trim and the installation of the camera itself is the same exact thing. You can see you still got the tangs there. Same thing here. It's going to mount exactly the same. What I will show you in this video is how I ran the cable from the front to the rear. And before we dive into anything, make sure you use my coupon code if you're going to pick up a FiTCAM for your vehicle. It'll give you a little bit of discount, and I know, you know, savings is savings these days. So use my coupon code. Appreciate it. Keeps things going on the channel. But with that said, let's dive into the truck, and I'll walk through how we're going to install the cable for the rear view camera. Okay, so we're here inside the truck. I have the rear view camera out of the bag here, and you can see you get a little mount here that's got some double stick tape, some nice 3M VHB, and then you got your camera. The camera rotates inside that mount so you can angle it as much as you need. You get some cable, and this is the cable that ultimately needs a route through the truck and connect to your front camera. A couple things to note. This is made to mount, or at least for the wires to be run from the passenger side, and I say that because if you look really close, there's an arrow on the sticker that says this side of the camera needs to be up. So let's try to do it one hand, which means when it installs, the camera is going to install like this in the back of the truck with the wire coming out on the passenger side. So it makes sense to run your wire along the passenger side roofline of the truck. So should be pretty straightforward as running this. I'm going to put the camera where I want it in the back first, and then we'll run the cable. That way, whatever extra cable I have, I could go ahead and zip tie it up behind the camera. So the other benefit of having this installed on the passenger side is, let's hop in the back of the truck real quick. If you look at the rear view window, you notice it opens to the driver's side. This way you could put the camera pretty much anywhere along the top of this window and be out of the way of that sliding window. I've seen some people put their camera in, they go to open that rear view window, and they forget that that thing is going to slide and take the camera right off with it. So anyway, here is what we're going to do. Let's get out of here a little bit. Let's trace the path first. The cable is going to plug into the front camera, so there's that pigtail. It's going to travel up along the roof line over this way. I think just to make life easier, I'm going to pull this out because this actually might be a good location to store that extra cable. And then I'm going to take this weather stripping here, and we're just going to simply pull that out. So you can see, very easy to pull out. Just need the stuff off the top. Plenty of room to slide the camera cable up along this trim. We're going to fish it through here. We're going to do the same thing in the back, where we're going to go ahead and pull that weather stripping out. So we'll fish it from there, from the front to the rear, all along here. We'll just pop the wire in there, and then we'll figure out where we want to land our camera. Honestly, I think it'll be all right if we mount it here, but I'm gonna see how far I can get it over. Ultimately, what's gonna dictate that is my ability to hide the wire. So I'm gonna mess around with the wires a little bit, see if I could tuck it up into this little channel here. If I can, then I'm gonna try to move the camera over as much as possible to get it in the center of the truck. If not, then we'll settle for somewhere over here so it's up and out of the way, and maybe I route it up right next to the window. So we'll install the rear view camera first, and then we'll come back and reinstall the front camera when we get there. That's the easy part. The hard part is just running all this stuff. And honestly, I don't think, now that I have that weather stripping moved, I don't think it's even needed to remove this guy. So let's see how much we can run with everything still intact. And if we move it, all right, quick recap. The biggest thing you got to be mindful of in the rear when you're running this camera, let's pop this guy down, is the fact that there is a plug for this to plug into that extension cable. So that kind of limits what you could do with it behind here if you're not trying to remove all the panels. Obviously, if you remove the panels, you got a lot of flexibility. But I have that thing pop back behind here, and I think right here is a pretty good location for the camera. It's a pickup truck. I obviously want that camera up as high as possible to see out over my the back of my truck. And I think this is a good location. It's not dead center, but there's not much, and the more you get over here, the wider this channel gets, and I don't want this big old cable hanging down. And like I said, you're kind of limited as far as how you could pull it, how far you could pull out. So I think this should be good. If we need to move it in the future, I can go ahead and pull the wire. We got plenty of length. So I ran the wire this way. It's tucked back inside here. So everything's tucked in nice and nicely, or nice and cleanly. Let's hop out here. That wire comes up here. You can see it. It's right along the roof line. I just have a little bit of slack hanging out here. Fished it through here. So right now we got a little bit of extra cable, and I got to run this door sill, and then we can go ahead and put the weather stripping back. But you have a lot of cable. So you can see here, I probably have 4 or 5 feet left of cable, and I only have maybe a 2.5 foot run. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this off. I think there's gonna be some area in here where I could zip tie up a lot of the cable so it's up and out of the way. I'd rather it not dangling up there. Worst case scenario, I will put it up there. You know what? Maybe we do that because there's a ton of room inside the camera housing itself. And I think if we use some zip ties, that'll be a nice clean housing. That way we're not messing with any of this stuff in here, and I don't need to take this pillar off. So change of plans. We're gonna store all the extra cable nicely inside the camera housing itself. Let's go take a look at the camera and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So when we run the cable into here, you got all this room in here. So let's go ahead and just tightly wrap up that rear view camera cord, and we'll basically just snake it in there. We'll zip tie it up so it's not rattling, and that should be good to go. Yeah, so let's do that. So let me get that camera cable run the rest of the way, all the way over to the rear view mirror. Whoop, wrong door. Let's get it run all the way to the rear view mirror, and then we'll start working on putting that camera on and coiling up all the wires, and then I'll show you how to set everything up. All right, slight change of plans. That's a lot of cable, and it was a lot to jam in there, and it didn't look good. So what we're gonna do is I went ahead and removed the A pillar here. Very easy, just take a flathead, remove these 2 little triangle panel covers or screw covers, and then there's 2 10 millimeter bolts, and this bad boy just pops right out. The only thing holding it in is this little clip. We're gonna be really careful next to this guy. That's the airbag. But what we're gonna do is take the camera cable and just run it down this way and back up and down and up until we have enough cable to come back over here. So this is gonna be used as kind of our storage for all of the excess cable. This is plenty of room here for it. And then once I have enough to get to the camera, so what I might do is just plug the camera and everything in, run my cable, and then I'll just deal with the excess here. We'll zip tie it up out of the way, put that guy back in there. There's plenty of room in here. I was just trying to avoid extra steps, but I was being lazy, and I'm gonna do it the right way. So let's go ahead and clip these zip ties, open up this cable, and then start routing some of that wire over here and get the camera. Okay, so that plan worked out much better. You can see the black cable, that's the excess camera cable, up and out of the way of the airbag. Do not zip tie anything to this. That's super dangerous. Stay far away from this. Stay on the exact opposite side. Plenty of room here to run your wiring for your camera and to stay, you know, a safe distance from your airbag. So I went ahead a little bit crazy with the zip ties, but you guys know me, I hate rattles and I don't want any sort of wire knocking around on there. So it's up out of the way, still plenty of room for our pillar panel to go back in there. So we are good to go. I have that cable ran over here. In the kit, they gave you this little blue guy. So as I ran the cable, I just basically hit the cable up into place, got my iPass there, everything's plugged in, we got our camera set up, it's good to go, everything looks nice and flush. Last thing I need to do is throw this trim piece back on. This is basically that neck piece that goes right here. So it just holds all this stuff and conceals it nice and easy. And then what we'll do is reinstall this, and then I'll show you how to set up the camera. All right, we got our A-pillar cover on. We got our wire run across the top. Everything's situated up with the camera on the front end of everything. Everything's plugged in the power of the rear view camera. I do not have the rear view camera plugged in yet, or I'm sorry, attached yet. It's just dangling there. Once I get it set up, I'm going to have my wife help me or my son help me as far as aiming it. I don't want to have it way far in the middle of the window because, like I said, there's going to be a lot of wire hanging. I want to kind of put it in the corner, and I want to see what it looks like in the corner. But with that said, now we can go ahead and connect our new camera to the FiTCAM app. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download the FiTCAM app if you don't already have it. Let's go back here. So once you download that app, it's going to say, all right, let's go ahead and add that camera. So we're going to turn the truck on. We're going to hit add camera. It's going to ask me if there's power on. It's going to say select camera Wi-Fi. So please connect to the camera Wi-Fi in the phone settings. So if I go into my settings here, let's find it. And I go into Wi-Fi and I look for new Wi-Fi right here. So it's either LHD or CAR. So this one's starting with CAR. We're going to click on that. The password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very tricky. We're going to hit join, and that should now connect the app to my phone and camera. So now we're connected. We got a check mark there. We don't really care about the internet connection. We just want that connecting there. We'll say connect. It's connected. We'll move our comments out of the way. We're good to go. Let's go back in the app, and now we are situated. So you could see my front camera. It's good to go. It's seeing the cameras, or seeing the flags right in front of us. And then there is our rear camera. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here because I've never had a rear view camera. So it looks like if you hit the switch, you could flip them. So this is giving me the view right now of my rear view camera, and then it flips the front camera, and then that one flips it for just the front camera. That gives you just the rear, and then you could go back to, looks like going back to both of them. I like front and rear, kind of the picture-in-picture. Pretty slick. So let's see what happens when we flip it sideways. Flip it sideways, hit that. Oh, sweet. So it does the same thing like the front camera. You got the picture-in-picture. So again, you got your rear camera there, you got your front camera there. And then just like with the front camera, when I had just a single camera, you can go into camera file, and that's where it's storing all of your loop shots. So one of the things that I will point out is go into camera settings and make sure you set your camera settings to 1 minute loops. And I'll explain that in a second. Looks like mine's already at 1 minute. Let's make sure all the image resolution's as high as it is or can go. Sound recording, we're gonna turn that on for now. Okay, so anyway, I say 1 minute because if you're trying to pull footage off of the camera, when you have 1 minute loops, it's a lot easier to find your footage, and it's a lot faster to upload it onto your phone. So if you have a 3 minute, it does take a while. I don't know. That's just my own personal preference. I like the 1 minute loops. It's just easier to find things. When I saw a truck, blow through the red light the other day and I pulled FiTCAM footage from my Instagram, it was just easier to find it because it was all in 1 minute increments. Anyways, that is where we're at. Let's go ahead and fix some of these other functions. But everything is very simple to set up. This is such an intuitive app. It doesn't take rocket science to get it connected. As long as you can connect to a Wi-Fi signal and locate that guy in your Wi-Fi signal, you're good to go. If you can't find it, more than likely the power is not on. So you could check because there's indicator lights on the bottom. And mine are blue and red right now, which means I'm connected and I'm recording. So anyways, this is the kit that will turn on the front and back cameras when the truck is on. This does not turn on when the truck is off, so that means I don't have that collision thing. If you want to install the collision, you need to run a hardwire power down to the fuse box inside underneath the dash for a constant power. So you have that constant power, so you have the feed and the G-Shock will work. But I believe these do have that functionality. So anyway, once you open up the app, you just hit access camera and it's pulling in. One thing that I saw a lot of people comment on and ask me about, when you are in here messing around with the camera files that the camera's constantly saving, like it already got a bunch saved in here. When you are in here, the camera stops recording. So if you are driving and you want to pull some footage right away, stop, pull off the side of the road and do that, because it stops filming stuff, and if something else is going on, you want it to keep filming. So keep that in mind when you go to pull footage, that it stops recording when you go in here to pull this, and that makes total sense because you can only do so much with these memory cards. Anyway, that is how you install the FiTCAM front and rear camera. That's how I ran the wire. Again, I stored all the wire down in that in the A pillar on the passenger side. Very easy installation. And just go ahead and get the rear view camera. It's not that much more. It's still less than $300, and with my coupon code, it'll bring it down even more. So I'm gonna go ahead and mess around with the rear view camera as far as angling and everything, and then we'll finish this video with some footage from the front and from the rear. So let's go ahead and do that, and then enjoy the footage here. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.